Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and there is great news. I'm sure you've seen it already, but Asobo have released the Aircraft and Avionics Update 2 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. For standard MSFS users, it adds a highly detailed Boeing 747-8, and for those of you who have the Premium Deluxe version, the 787-10 is also brought up to a very high level of detail. Now, that promises to be a very interesting aircraft to fly, and for that reason I'm very excited about the flight that we are going to do today. We're standing here in Singapore, and this is a real-life Singapore Airlines 787-10 flight from Singapore to Bali, and we will carry 300 sun-seeking passengers down to the famous holiday place. Now, in today's video, I am flying the 787-10 and I have the sound mod from FTSim Plus installed. At the moment of this recording, that mod is not 100% compatible, so there might be some oral call-out problems caused by that mod. However, I do find it sounds so much better than the standard version, which is the reason why I decided that I want to use it. Also, very quick point over here, a lot of you have asked me how to switch between pounds and kilograms in the airplane, and here is how to do it. You go into the options, then you gotta go to the general options, miscellaneous, and then set your units of measurement to the metric system. So that can cause some trouble with air traffic control, however, that is how you set the airplane to meters for the moment. Alright then, I would say it is about time to have a very quick look into our flight plan to decide on our amount of fuel, and then we can head straight into the aircraft. Using Sim Toolkit Pro in order to display my Sim Brief flight plan over here. And as we can see, we will be Singapore 946 from Singapore to Bali. It's a 2-hour flight that is planned today. And then let's have a look for the weather. So we've got quite a couple of SIGMATs planned along the way, but most importantly, we have an ash mat as well, so a volcanic ash SIGMAT. And that is actually quite close to our arrival area from the surface between flight level 140. So that's something that we'll have a careful look on our arrival. Weather itself at our destination Bali is going to be very good. The same goes for our destination alternate, which I can unfortunately not pronounce. My apologies to everybody living down there and saying, man, that guy's an ignorant idiot. But nonetheless, looking at the weather forecast, everything's looking good. So in my opinion, they want us with 15.4 plus taxi fuel, 400 kilograms. So how about we make that 16 tons of fuel? Now, before we start doing anything in the airplane, a very quick note for all of you out there. I'm sure that many of you have seen my tutorial video on how to fly the 787, but finally Microsoft have listened and they made available a website on flightsimulator.com/aircraft-manuals, where you can actually get aircraft manuals, and this does amongst others include manuals for the 747-8 and for the 787-10. So if you want to, you can download your manual over here and you can use that in order to get flying. Now, I'm obviously going to use the procedures as I've learned them directly out of the AFCOM, so let's go ahead and start setting up. For the weight and balance part of things today, we quickly want to have a second look into our flight plan and into the load information. So we said we want 16 tons of fuel, and the other thing that we obviously need to know is how much are we going to carry, and we're going to carry 31.3 tons. So let's start setting that up first. So here we go, 31.9, tiny bit more, but that's fine. And looking into the amount of fuel, with our 16 tons, we have plenty of extra, so if we just take 8,000 kilograms per side, that should be more than sufficient. Alright, cool. So that's our 16 tons of fuel, they are loaded, and with that we can now start getting into our flight preparations. Very quick cross-check. God darn it, my English is interesting today. Block fuel plan 15711, and we have 16,000 on board. Okay, perfect. So that's what we need, that's what we want. And that is everything we need in order to get into our aircraft. So, the center of gravity is in limits, that's also something to have an eye upon. And with that, I would say we can start setting up. I'm not going to go over everything that's new in here, there is so much stuff that it basically is an entirely new airplane. Alright then, enough said, let's start setting it up. So, fuel switch is off, and then landing gear lever down, wipers are off. So let's go. Battery. And external power. And the IRS. Okay, perfect. With that, our aircraft can start getting up, and we can already see that we've got the display slowly coming on. IRS starts aligning. Do note there is an option for quick IRS alignment, but I do not have that set to anything low at the moment, so 5 minutes alignment time is what we get. Interesting, by the way, to see that it starts at a 5-minute alignment time, because we are rather close to the equator over here in Singapore, and the closer you are to the equator, the less alignment time the IRS will need. In turn, the further north or south you are, away from the equator, the more alignment time you need. Alright then, anyway, let's start doing a little bit of work here. So, we've got the 78710 Trent 1000 engines with an active database. Let's go, position in it. We take the GPS. Now, I'm going to type my stuff in manually here. So we go from Whiskey Triple Sierra to Whiskey Alpha Delta Delta. And we are the Singapore 946. For the rest of the stuff, let's quickly bring up Sim Toolkit Pro once more, so that we actually know what we are looking for in terms of our flight plan. And I might just about have to switch this around a bit. I will be using Navigraph charts along the way, kindly sponsored by them, so thank you very much once again, Navigraph. Okay, however, for now, we are going to start with our operational flight plan. Okay, runway 2 left is planned with the Vanix 1 Echo departure. So, departure, 2 left, and Vanix 1 Echo route next. Then we're gonna fly, that departure takes us towards Sugra, and then we join the Mike 635 airway. Mike 635 towards Udono. And that's it. So, arrivals. Let's see what we're going to do. Runway 09 is in use, so it's probably going to be the RNAV approach for runway 09. And we've got the Udono 1 Alpha arrival. Plan for us today. Here we go. And we'll take the Kuta transition. Okay, route, activate. I'm going to execute it straight away. That's just going to make our lives a little bit easier. Reserve fuel then, we take alternate plus reserve, so give me 4 tons over there. Reserve fuel weight I take straight from the sim, and that is 167.4 versus a planned weight of 167.9. So we're actually a little bit lighter than planned. That is very nice. Okay, 390, cost index 21, that is really not a lot. The cruise CG is just going to be automatic. Okay, so we've got a very long runway, that means we can use Takeoff 2, and I'm not going to derate it any further. Flap 1 takeoff, CG we take straight from the airplane. Then on the next page, let's quickly go ahead and fill in a little bit more data. So, latest weather over here, wind 100 at 4, slightly variable. You don't need to do that, but, you know. And that's pretty much it, QNH 1011. Acceleration height is going to be 1000. And then we can take over the numbers, like this. And 156 is going to be our V2. Okay, that is basically our flight plan finished. The last thing I will do, I am going to enter a 25-mile ring around the departure airport just for MSA awareness. And finally, select our transition altitude, which, looking at the departure chart, again, currently sponsored by Navigraph, is going to be 11,000. Alright, and that is our preparation pretty much complete. Optimum flight level 391, planned cruise level 390. How much better does it get? Alright. Then let's go ahead and run a quick check of our flight deck. I'm not going to explain everything I'm doing in this video. If you're interested in the full version, then you can watch my tutorials. Okay, initially gonna go to 5,000 and heading 020. We set the V2 today is 156. Okay, IRS is fully aligned, very good. UNH 1011 and 1011, perfect. So, quick check of all the messages we have here. Hydraulic pressure systems, left, right, center, engine shutdown, doors, hydraulic pressure, fuel pumps. Okay, all of that makes sense. Very quick check also through the system pages to make sure that everything is looking normal over here. The one thing I am a little bit afraid of is this. Yeah, it is quite warm in here, so let's go ahead and turn on the APU. Okay, a neat little feature. You see the lavatory vacant over there. Now that actually occasionally changes into lavatory occupied. So, obviously just a little toy to play with, but a very neat one if you ask me. Okay, and those are not simulated. Okay, checklists. Can reset them over here, but that's about all we can do with them. So we can't go into the large reset or the non-normals. Okay, then going down, let's quickly set up our nav radios. What is that? Okay, that is my mistake. That looks much better. Okay, cool. So that's the setup pretty much completed. Let's go ahead and do a quick departure briefing. I don't see any threats for the departure. For the route check, we're going from Whiskey Triple Sierra, Whiskey Alpha Delta Delta, Sierra India Alpha 946. Routing is Venix 1 Echo departure to Surga, Mike 635 Odunu, and then we join the Udunu 1 Alpha arrival. I don't know where that directive comes from, but Aguda is only a procedure, so I suppose it's fine. Okay, then from Kuta we'll fly the out of approach runway 09 over at Bali. So, instrument cross-check, time UTCs 1011, altimeter, time UTC 0320, altimeter 1011, reading about 60 feet. No, I'm afraid today, flight directors are on and the standby instruments are set. Left to takeoff, runway 2 left, flap 5, noise abatement 2, and engine out, we go straight at on the runway track to an altitude of 3000. Okay, emergencies as briefed in the crew room on the way to the aircraft. Now let's go ahead with the very quick taxi briefing, and then we are ready to go. Okay, so parking over here, departure runway 2 left, that means pushback with a nose to the right hand side, and then we'll go via Papa, Quebec, and Whiskey, all the way down to Whiskey 8 for runway 2 left departure. Phoenix 1 Echo departure is on chart over here, and if we go ahead and check that real quick, thank you. Then our SID is taking us on the runway track 023 towards Topham above 2000 feet. Then a right-hand turn towards Doctor above 4,000 feet, and then on towards Dogra below 6,000. So 6,000 is going to be the initial climb, which I'll select up here. And runway heading 023. Okay, from Dogra we are going to continue towards Dosno, Venpa, Venix, Surga, and in here we've got Dosno, Venpa, Venix, and Surga. Okay, initial climb clearance, they say 3,000 over there, but since we're flying single pilot, I want to make things a little bit easier, so I am going to keep 6,000 as the initial there. Speed shall not exceed 230 knots until passing 4,000 and not exceed 250 until passing 10,000. So in here we could do 230/4,000, see what that's going to look like. Okay, execute. And that's really it. So RNAV VNAV going to be used for the departure. And we are all set up. You have any questions on the departure briefing? No? Okay, very good. Then let's go ahead with our pre-flight checklist. Park and brake. Set fuel control switches. Cut off. pre-flight checklist completed. Okay, starting up the APU. That's running already, even better. And then we can go ahead and request our pushback. So, cockpit to ground. Go ahead, please. Please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and bypass pin is installed. Yeah, we can confirm doors, hatches are closed, ground equipment is all removed except for the ground power units, which we can unfortunately not remove, and the bypass pin is installed. Okay, thank you very much. Are we clear to pressurize the hydraulics? Yes, you can pressurize the hydraulics. Okay. So that is everything on. To note, the beacon light seems to be missing the click sound. Actually, that goes for all the switches up here. So the beacon, for some reason, doesn't have a switch sound associated with it. Okay, over here everything is on, and we need trim of 5.75 units. Like that. Okay, cool. So with that, we are pretty much ready to go now. An inner draft and legs exactly as we need it. Okay, perfect. Recall is checked. Before start checklist, please. Passenger signs on MCP V2 156, heading 023, altitude 6000. Takeoff speeds V1 142, VR 147, V2 156, set. CDU pre-flight. Completed. Trims. 5.75 units and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Beacon on before start checklist complete. Alright, with that we are ready to go. So let's get our GSX and get us moving. Cockpit ground. Go ahead. So we're clear to push. Nose to the right. Park and brake set.
Release parking brakes, please.
Brakes released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Roger. Off block at time 25. Okay, engine shutdown and fuel pressure messages. We can cancel those. And then we are on the go. Both engines are clear the red line, but I'm going to delay the engine start just a little bit because we can start both engines at the same time and I don't want to be waiting there for too long. By the way, for any of the experts out there, I wonder what kind of a tow bar it needs to push a Boeing 787. Oh, that's just me wondering. Okay, cool. So, cockpit ground, starting engines 1 and 2. Okay, clear start 1 and 2. So, clock is running. Auto start is in progress of both engines. Okay, that is 2 good starts.
Parking brakes.
Brake set.
We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Okay. Recall is checked. So, flap 5. And a flight control check, please. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudders. Full left, full right, neutral. Okay. Before taxi checklist. Anti-ice. Auto. Recall, checked. Auto brakes, RTO. Flight controls, checked. Ground equipment, well, not clear quite yet. But you know what, I'm going to cancel GSX. Okay, abort, thank you. Okay, ground equipment, clear, APU is shutting down. Before taxi checklist complete. Okay, airport map is up. And that is all we need. So a very quick look at the chart so that you guys know where we're about to go as well. We're parking up here, and our taxi is going to lead us by Papa, Quebec, Whiskey for a full-length runway 02 left departure. Okay, clear left side, clear right side. Quick check, by the way, where GSX pushed us. Yeah, I was afraid of something like that. Oh well. Lights on, brake off. If O might just as well use the taxi map as well, make himself a bit usable. Always impressive how tight everything is over here. Like, there's really not that much area next to the wings. Okay, so we'll taxi clear of the terminal over here, and then we'll go left over here onto Quebec. At Quebec? Yes, that's Quebec on here. Arch airplane, don't overspeed. This looks even tighter now on the sides. But that is alright. Right is clear, left is clear. Okay, let's go all the way straight and then we take it on to Whiskey. It's somewhat strange after I used the A320 for such a long while now in the simulator to support my self-study on the type rating. All of a sudden I'm sitting in such a large airplane like the 787 here, and doing ground speed at 25 knots, and looking outside it really feels like 10 knots in the A320. That just shows you how much higher we're sitting over here, and how much of a difference that actually makes. Okay, so not this taxiway, but the next one. We're clear on both sides, no traffic coming. Okay, 10 knots. Let's take it around the corner. Okay, that looks good. So, let's do the takeoff briefing. This is going to be a left seat takeoff. Runway 02 left, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2. Takeoff speeds, we have 142, 147, 156, and that is checked on the displays. So, our SID takes us straight ahead, right turn out, initially climbing officially 3,000. We're going to make it 6,000 for us here in the simulator to reduce our workload after the departure. We're on the departure frequency already. In case of any emergencies, we're going to go straight ahead, climbing to 3,000 feet, and we'll continue on the runway track. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, before takeoff checklist. Flaps. Flaps 5. Before takeoff checklist complete. Alright, so rather long taxi over here. That is the unfortunate part of flying such big aircraft. But not a lot we can actually do about that. Obviously, we could have calculated an intersection departure, but if I'm totally honest with you, I don't see too much reason of doing that. If we just about taxi a tiny bit longer, but then have the full runway length available, at least in such a large aircraft as this one, then it certainly can't hurt. Now, obviously there will be some room for debate if you really need 4,000 meters of runway. On the other hand side though, we pay the full runway, so why not use the full runway? Obviously, we're not under any time pressure at the moment, so for that reason, we don't need to expedite the taxi in any way. But we have made it. And look at the amount of Dreamline is parked there. Incredible. Is that old Scoot? Yeah, looks like it. Wow. That's impressive. Okay, not this taxiway, but the next one. Okay, runway 2 left, clear on the approach. Cabin crew, please take your seats for departure. So, checklist is complete. Are you ready? Okay, so am I. Clear right, clear left side. Takeoff. Takeoff thrust. Give me that, please. 80 knots. Checked. Rotate. Okay, gear up. Power to the freight. Cross drive, enough speed. So let's do a little bit of hand flying here. During the acceleration at least, and then we can still use the autopilot after that. Both have been improved, so we are really curious about both. Okay, climb thrust is coming. Airplane stability very good over here, really very good. I'm basically keeping clear of the control column. Flaps 1, speed check, flap 1. 230 knots is our initial limit as we entered it on the VNAV climb page. And look at that, the FMC is respecting it perfectly. Flaps up, speed check, flaps up. I'm using a little bit of down trim every now and then, but apart from that, the airplane is really a stable thing over here and is really doing its job well. Okay, then I've seen what I wanted to see. Let's put the autopilot on. And here we go straight away. Vertical speed 2000 as we have just 2000 feet to go. Okay, after takeoff checklist. Landing gear up, flaps up. After takeoff checklist complete. We're above 4,000, but I'm going to wait until we've completed the turn before I'm going to accelerate. On to go. It was a little bit harsh on the push down, but apart from that, totally fine. Checked. Okay. About to reach the end of the turn, let's go to 250 knots, as we're above 4,000 now. Going to the VNAV page. That's still in. I believe that restriction should have vanished, but nonetheless, we're above 4,000, so it doesn't matter for us anyway. Okay, let's continue our climb straight away. Let's pretend there is no traffic in the area, as unlikely as it is for Singapore. Let's go 15,000 initially, set, 15,000 checked. VNAV. And you can see correct speed target 250 knots is actually targeted by VNAV. And obviously, we are currently limited by the 6,000 restriction over here at Dogra. Now, if we press the altitude interval button once, that 4,000 above should vanish. Let's do that. Oh, it directly deleted the 6,000 at Dogra. But well, it ultimately is what we wanted to achieve, the further climb, so for that reason I'm just not going to complain. The rate of climb, by the way, once the speed is stabilized, is going to be somewhere in the region of about 4,000 feet a minute. Occasionally it can go higher if the speed increases above the target, that is totally expected. But if we are getting to somewhere around 4,000, 4,500 with such a light airplane as we have it right now, keep in mind it can carry over 100 tons more weight than we currently do, then that is a totally believable rate of climb there. We're about to reach 10,000 feet. I'm going to leave the climb thrust limit in so that we see the reduced climb throughout the remainder of our climb phase. So passing 10,000, accelerating, and the lights are going off. Looking outside, I don't expect any turbulence, so let's switch the seatbelts to auto. Alright, so that's pretty much our departure completed. We're just about to reach the transition altitude at 11,000, and once we have done that, we are going to accelerate this a little bit so that it doesn't get too boring for you during those 2 hours on the way towards Bali. So, that's done that. Gonna cross-check passing flight level 111. Now, checked. Alright then, I see you a little bit further during the flight. We're approaching our top of descent and it is time to start setting up. Now, one thing that we want to look at the very first, because it is going to play a major role for our arrival, is going to be the significant weather chart once again. So let's bring that up for a second. And this is it. So we passed through the area of isolated embedded CBs without any problems. But down here, we've got a volcanic eruption on Bali. No, not on Bali, but pretty on Java. Quite close to Bali, and our arrival is leading us right next to that. So let's once more go ahead into our weather information and have a look at that. And this is the associated volcanic ash SIGMAT, and it says we've got a volcanic eruption of Mount Semeru at a position here. Volcanic ash observed at 10:35 Zulu, surface between surface and flight level 140. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark this one on our fix page. So that's going to be south 0806. And then east 11255. Okay, so that should be marked now. And that is over here. So we can see that is some 80 nautical miles from our flight path and to a maximum flight level 140. Let's see if we can see anything. Yeah, that might be the volcano that we're looking for. In any case, that seems to be one of those, and they all seem to be clear from our route of flight. But we can see a little bit of some haze over there, so that might be the ash cloud in question. In any case, that's something that we'll be careful with on our way into Bali. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and have a look into our arrival data. And this is going to be the arrival that we'll fly. Now, the first things first, though, let's get the weather information for our destination. It's a wind of 14084, 10 kilometers, fuel 1726, 1011. Okay, so 1011 is the QNH. Let's go ahead and pre-select that. Done. And then our arrival leads us towards Kuta, and from there we'll start the RNAV approach. So let's go ahead. RMP approach runway 09, that's what we need. Minimums 280 LNAV and VNAV minima, and that's all that is available. So, Barrow, give me something good. Always a little bit difficult to dial that in precisely. That's what I mean. And that is what I mean. Okay, come on. Almost there. Almost there. Here we go. Minimums 280 is in and starting from Kuta, so let's go over the entire arrival at first. We're starting up here at Udono towards Aguda. Just on the next page. Udono, Aguda below level 230. Then we've got Entas, Polik above level 170. Then we have Ninam above 10,000. Munich between 6 and 9,000, which we have here in the FMC as well. And then we proceed towards Careo and then Kuta. From Kuta we join the RMP approach runway 09 by the waypoints 403, 404 and then down to the runway. So we've got 403, 404 and then the runway. 2.9 degree glide on the airplane and 2.9 degree glide on the charts as well. For missed approach, climb on course 087 at or above 2000, turn right direct to Kuta at 3000 for hold or as instructed. So in here we've got runway heading 087 towards 2000 and towards Kuta, climb on 3000 and then as instructed, and as we can see, it looks a little bit odd, but that is a right hand turn into the holding indeed. Okay, so transition level is going to be 130. Let's quickly go ahead and enter that as well on the forecast page, 130. And finally, we can put a couple of winds in as well, which we can catch from our operational flight plan, provided I can find the wind data block on here. Here it is. Okay, so we've got flight level 310. $200, 150, and 100. And the winds are 035 at 12. Like that, 248 at 5. Then 255 at 10. And finally we're looking at 233 at 1. Very strong wind, I have to say. Absolutely worth entering. Okay, perfect. So, I'm going to keep that volcano in just in case, and then we can still draw a 25-mile ring around our destination airport. So, Bali/25, here we go. The runway itself is rather long. We've got a 3,000-meter runway down here. Fuel to go to the destination, 5.2 on arrival, 6.6 right now, so that's going to be a 1.4 ton burn. So that makes it a landing weight of 172.6. And we'll make it a flap 30 landing. Then use auto brakes 2, and then we'll vacate somewhere around November 3 or November 2, and then off to the main apron. Let's quickly get a parking shot as well. Here we go, and we'll be parking somewhere over here on the main apron. Okay, I think that's gonna do for the arrival briefing. Threats, obviously, volcanic ash if we encounter it. The only thing we can do really is to go to idle thrust in order to get down and then keep it in idle thrust until we're out of it, put the continuous ignition on and try to not lose our engines and just descend out of it. The only good thing is we should be in gliding range towards our destination at any time during the approach, since it is calculated as an idle thrust descent, so that's the one good news we have over there. But if we do encounter some volcanic ash, immediate 180-degree turn out of it while keeping the engines in idle. Now, you might be wondering why we don't just climb out of it. Well, some people tried that in the past, some people had 4 engines fail on a 747 because of that in the past. So we aren't going to do that. The reason is that the additional heat from the extra thrust you add might be just about that little bit heat that is needed in order to melt the ash that is accumulating in your engines, and if that ash melts, well, you can guess what's gonna happen. Small tip over here, it looks spectacular, but it is really not recommended to try that yourself. Okay then, descent checklist please. Got the recall checked, auto brake, level 2, landing data, VRF 3142, minimum spiral 280, approach briefing completed, descent checklist complete. By the way, did you notice how when I pulled up the checklists on here, all of a sudden we could get terrain returns? Well, it's gone right now, but it just about was there. I don't know why that is the case. Doesn't make much sense to me, but so be it. Alright then. I would say it is about time to speed up a little bit once more. Let's already dial the altitude down to, let's go down to the transition level 130 at first. And let's actually make that 150 so that we stay on top of the ash clouds for now. Also, while the time lasts, very quick look outside, even though not that much has really changed there, but it is still an amazing looking aircraft at 787, isn't it? I certainly believe it is. And with that, it is about time to get back into the cockpit and return to our flying duties. Passing 10,000 feet, let's turn on some lights. I turned the seatbelt sign on a little bit earlier, also went to local QNH already. FMC message, track required, yeah, that is quite obvious, flying 10 knots faster than we should. And with that we are about to start our approach. So it's going to be an on-off approach, not a lot that we actually need to do, so no first check or anything the likes. However, can quickly go over it. Frequencies we got Bravo Lima India active here. Rings 25 miles for the MSA islands. Well, there are none, it's an on-off runway 09. Standby instruments set and the courses are on-off. Approach checklist please. Altimeters 1011 passing 9100. Approach checklist complete. And that's gonna be it. So we're gonna fly on VNAV. I will see if there is an IAN approach mode available. Actually, we can just about check that right now, and there is not. So if we click the approach button, nothing happens. So IAN is not available in this airplane, so we're going to fly it as a standard LNAV VNAV approach. Some comments here that some people often ask me like, hey, why don't you use IAN in the 737 even though you have it? Well, the thing is that most airlines actually don't even have it in the 737 in the first place. And even those which have it rarely use it. Now, why is that? That's primarily because IAN mode works very similar to an ILS, so it cannot follow any changes in the procedures, as in steeper gradients, less steeper gradients, turns in the procedures, and so on. So that's stuff that you can only do flying LNAV VNAV, and the majority of 737s doesn't even have IAN navigation, and those which do barely use it at all, because most procedures are somewhat not a direct straight in on the extended center line. Keep in mind, IAN would track the extended center line, not necessarily the magenta line, which might be a little bit offset. But that's just a little excursion into the story of different aircraft there. So back to our 787, we do not have IAN navigation in here, but that is not a problem at all, because you would primarily fly it using LNAV and VNAV anyway, and that is what we are going to do today. So 2 miles prior to the top of descent, we are going to set the altitude down to the minimums plus 100 feet, which is going to be 300 feet in our case. Verify LNAV, VNAV, and then we're going to fly it all the way down using the LNAV and VNAV modes. That is, as such, the standard way how to fly approaches like this in the majority of airlines and the majority of Boeing aircraft types. I had to correct myself there because Airbus is a little bit different, but that is stuff for future videos. One last thing that would be very nice on the approach here is the vertical situation display. Unfortunately, that is not available in the AAU aircraft, but there is good hopes that it will be added by later freeware mods like the Salty and the Heavy division, which I'm fairly positive they are going to do. Okay, so let's go down 3,000 feet, which is going to be our platform altitude, and then later on we go from 3,000 to 2,500 and 1,700 from there start the final approach. Overall, speed has reduced nicely. I didn't even need to use any speed brakes over here, it just took a tiny bit longer. And that's pretty much it. Got a tiny bit of headwind that surely helped with the speed reduction as well. Something I always find amazing in these kind of aircraft, if we look at the heads-up display, we can see our current flight path is somewhere in the region of maybe 2.8 degrees or something, maybe 2.9. Somewhere even less than 3 degrees. And if you think about it, and if you think about some of the more modern aircraft there are, those would barely fly at 3-degree descent paths, in many cases a tiny bit steeper. Well, unless you're flying a 737, that thing just doesn't decelerate at all. I'm saying that now. Wait for it until I'm flying the A330, then things are going to be much different. And that one supposedly decelerates even worse than a 737. I can hardly imagine, but I'll see. Anyway, what we do see over here is how the descent gradient is really not very steep. So I wonder how it's going to work once we need to start losing our airspeed and start decelerating the plane. Because looking at it right now, we're currently 18 miles from the runway. We're at an altitude of roughly 5,000 feet. So that means that 5 times 3 gives us 15 miles to get down. Plus then we need to lose our airspeed over here. And you can see we've got 240 knots, so we need some 4 miles extra, which is 19. So that is just about spot on, but if we look at it right now, then it does seem to me like we are a tiny bit high. But nonetheless, I'm going to trust VNAV to do its work over here, and then we'll see where we are going to end up. Once again, I'm not a rated 787 pilot, so if what I say makes more sense or less sense, is something that we'll just about have to see now. The speed target has just come down, and the airplane is pitching up a tiny bit, even though not really that much. FMC message, drag required, yeah, surprise. Let's give it a little bit of drag, flaps 1. Speed checked. And cancel that FMC message, thank you. Yeah, that's 1,000 to go. Let's set our next altitude, 2,500. Okay, flap 1, flap 5, speed checked. I heard this autopilot alert a couple times already in the beta. I've never been able to make out what it was for, so if you know, do let me know in the comments. Okay, 13 miles out, 3,500 feet, speed 200 knots, and decreasing, that is very good. So overall we're on a pretty good profile at the moment. That's 1,000 to go. And then, according to Boeing, 2.5 miles prior to the waypoint, we can select the altitude down to the next one. So 1,700 it is. Our FAF is the Delta 404 point. So based on that, we're going to do our NPA procedures. Something I still find a little bit strange over here is that the speed target goes down all the way to VRF plus 5, even though with the flaps at 5 it should only bug the 5 speed. But let's see if it's gonna go below it. I bet it will. Yeah, here you see it, it does. Okay, speed and event, and we take it on 184. And that looks good. Okay, passing waypoint 403 above 2,500. And if we look outside, we can already see our runway up there, and you can see how the 3-degree line is almost on it. Puppy is showing us 3 reds at the moment, which is totally fine. So here we come. Okay, 9 terrain noted. 9 miles out. Speed is looking good. Ground speed 185 is good as well. Let's help it a little bit more. Flap 10. FMC message, drag required. I'll ignore that. Approaching descent. 300 feet set, VNAV path, speed intervent. And flaps 15. Again, if you know what caused that sound, then do let me know. That might be a bit much speed brake. This is what we need. Path 1700, no flags. I'll check no flags. Okay, let's see if approach mode is available now. Okay, here we go. Now we actually got the IAN mode armed and captured. So, final approach course and glide path. And if that is captured anyway, then we can also select our missed approach altitude. So that's 3000 feet set. Makes the NPA a bit easier. Gear down, flaps 20. Flaps 30. Landing checklist. Speed brake. Armed. Landing gear. Down. Flaps 30. Landing checklist complete.
1000.
Perfect. Alright, so we are on a straight-in approach, so for that reason IAN mode can actually be used on this one. And then we've got everything on, the passengers are seated, so that looks all good to me. Let's go ahead, disconnect the autopilot, and then we'll take it flying down manually. In some of the beta versions there were some problems with the flare logic, so let's see how that is going to perform today. In the final release, 500 continue. I'm flying it primarily off the heads-up display right now, and the main target is to keep that 3-degree line roughly on the aiming point, and like that we can fly it down pretty precisely. Auto throttle is going to do its job. The C*U logic of the Boeing fly-by-wire means that we don't need a trim. Continue. And now I'm going to stop talking and just about land my airplane.
Fifty, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, speed brake up. Reverse. I got an auto brake message there. Let's go to manual braking. 80 knots. $60 knots. Okay, come off to the left. Now those trees over there are probably gonna cut our wings. Or hopefully the other way around, we'll see. With those plastic aircraft, you never really know what's gonna happen if you smash them into something. I remember close to my local airport of Düsseldorf, All Nippon used to damage one of the first 787s, and it really took them a long time until they could get some engineering on scene to repair that aircraft. That damage to all those carbon fibers in the airplane was just something that most engineers were not familiar with during that time. Interesting though that we got some trees standing that close to the center line, but if we look at this, yeah, we are gonna hit. Okay, so be it. I'm just not gonna look there, and if I don't see something, then it hasn't happened. It's easy logic, isn't it? Okay, so gonna taxi a little bit further. I just find the terminal to be looking so cool over here at Bali. Something that's definitely still on my list for real life. I definitely want to go here one day. Okay, Alpha 17 looks good to me. And let's start the turn. Just look at how far you can oversteer with that cockpit, and the plane still ends up on the yellow line. It's amazing, isn't it? Really gives you a feeling of how large that airplane is that you are really controlling here. Okay, that looks good. APU running, very good. So, marshaller would be nice now, but I guess we can do without one. What's written on here? 777 at the end, so let's take it all the way there. That should be good, I think. Okay. Brake set, APU running. Okay, both engines below 20%, beacon light off, and then we can do the shutdown checklist. Hydraulic panel. Set, fuel pumps off, flaps up, park and brake. Set, fuel control switches. Cut off, shutdown checklist complete. Alright, and that's it, our first flight with the Boeing 787. I surely hope you have enjoyed this one, do let me know in the comments. Now, what do I think of it? Well, I tell you honestly, I'm really thrilled by it. We always have to keep in mind, obviously there are going to be higher fidelity aircraft like the PMDGs. That's totally out of the question, and that's really not the point. The point over here is that seeing that this is a somewhat default aircraft, this is premium deluxe, but we've got the same level of fidelity in the 747, for example. Seeing that this is somewhat a default aircraft, this is really a huge step forward for flight simulation. It's not only the fact that we can fly it pretty much 99% following the standard operating procedure for a normal A to B flight, but also the fact that this has simply come out of the blue at no additional cost. Now, obviously, no additional cost doesn't count for those of you who haven't bought the Premium Deluxe expansion, and if I'm totally honest, would I recommend getting the Premium Deluxe just for the 787? Probably not. Would I recommend to get it anyway? Well, it also includes the Longitude, so that is something for you to think about, in that the Longitude is really an awesome aircraft as well. So both the Longitude and the 787 really make the Premium Deluxe version for me. The sceneries, well, not so much, to be honest. We all know what Asobo sceneries look like, and I have a feeling that the sceneries in the Premium Deluxe are looking even worse than those supplied with the standard Flight Simulator version. But keeping that in mind, the 787 really is a good add-on. There are a couple things that still need some doing, like for example on the first officer's side of the PFD we got the info box on the left side, while it should be on the right, so the first officer's PFD really is just a mirror of the captain ones. I talked about the developers to that, and they just told me that, well, it comes down to performance, that they simply mirror the screen. However, they do eventually plan to do something about that with a future version, or maybe with a separate pack. But we're going to see about that. In any case, in my opinion, the 787 is really an awesome addition to our simulator, and they have done an absolutely awesome job on it. If you want the Premium Deluxe, go and get it. If you don't want it, well, think about if the 787 and the Longitude are worth it. In my opinion, both are really good aircraft. If those are worth the upgrade price is something that only you can decide. But in any case, this is where I'm going to sign off for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Do leave a like and a comment, as it does really help out the channel. Now, if you really love what I'm doing, I would love to see you as a channel member, giving you exclusive early access to new videos before they're released for everyone else. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I see you all around very, very soon.